time on Custom Works, we're going to be looking at how to make all those flowing, lovely lines on the back of the meat wagon. Let's get to the workshop. So I'll be using this, it's like a UPVC cloaking. I think you use it on the inside of windows if you put some plastic windows in. It's very flexible. Most importantly though, it comes in a 5 metre length, and it sort of holds its own curve. Now, everyone always says, how did I get the lines on Automatron? That'll be the car that won Best in Britain. How did I get all the lines on the roof? I used this. Every single line on that car I used using this. Similarly on Cosmotron, I use the same sort of thing as this. It just makes a perfect line. Also, the taxidermist taxi, again, yeah, I use this. This stuff you can sketch, make a million mistakes. This literally shows you the way. Let's try and pull those lines in. Okay, so what I've done, I've just mocked up this wheel arch, and we're going to try and pull our 3 lines down as the 3 bottom lines, not the top line, because that'll be the roof line, of how the body's going to be in this super cool Art Deco Airstream look. So, we've pulled this line down here. Now, it's looking pretty damn good. This is going to have some sort of chrome trim that runs from the bonnet here, goes here, and then just sort of vanishes above the wheel arch. It's all in my mind. So this is looking good. So what I'm going to do now, use some dye bond, and I'm going to make these panels up here. At the minute, I don't care how strong it is. I don't care about any framework. I'll make the panel, then I'll build the framework inside. And then I won't make framework, and then I think, oh, I want the line to go there, and I've got to cut the framework. Always make the shape, then bolster it after. Never try and build a frame and then put it on, because you'll be disappointed. You'll never get those super flowing lines by doing that, unless you're like really, really good, I don't know. But yeah, so all I'm going to do now, make that strong, then I'll toughen it up, and then I'll do the same to the other side, and then we'll look at bringing this top line in. Okay then, so I put this on last night, just some of this, you know, just from Screwfix, no nonsense expanding foam. And I put that along where we'd use the UPVC to create the line, and we've got this right on mesh. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand this into shape, nice flowing line going right down to the back here, and then we can start thinking about what our top line's going to be, our gutter line, before the roof. So first off, let's get this sanded up. Okay then, so we've shaped the expanding foam and we've gone over it in this aluminium tape. What that does, that forms a barrier between the fiberglass that we're going to put on and the foam, because it's like, you know, it's like having a wheel on some snow, something like that. Anyway, so this comes to a nice edge. I've put some of this, which I use quite a lot of, I've realised on these programmes. I put some of this cheap and nasty chrome trim. Now what I'll do is I'll run that all the way down there, and then I'm going to fiberglass this. And I'm going to fiberglass from here down to the edge of this. Now this will take up the thickness of the fiberglass, and it will give me a clean edge to work with once it's done. And once this clean edge is done, because this is going to look like it's made of sections of aluminium riveted together, this trim will have, well, it won't be a trim because I'll be glassed and filled up to it, but this line will be riveted along there, so it looks like this is an aluminium capping riveted to this, which will look like an aluminium panel. Funnily enough, this is an aluminium panel, but at a later date I'll be making it look like an aluminium panel. Yeah. Done quite a bit. So out of the mould, and it's the same mould that we used on the pickup truck, not quite fitting on, so it's still a bit wobbly there. We've got the running board in position, and this time what we've done, we've made that in fiberglass, but we have glassed in 2 bits of 3x2 timber running the length of that, so it is super stiff, and that wood is fully encased in fiberglass, so no need to worry about rust or anything. Drive through a flood, it don't matter. We've also glassed on this rear arch. So, running down the car, and literally it runs from the front and then all the way down there, is this huge compound curve. Ow! And what we've done there, we silver taped it, and then I've just put one layer of fiberglass over it. I'll probably go over it again, but just for now, one layer of fiberglass, it's made it a bit better. And also, panelled this piece in as well. So this rear panel of the truck is in there. So we've got the nice lower line, got the bottom line, can really see what we're doing. I've also extended the bottom of the door by a couple of inches, so it's door all the way down, because a taxi has a little panel gap there, that looks a lot better. And as you can see just here, I'm starting to bring in that top line of the roof. So I'm thinking it's going to go like that, and then sweep down just here, and whoomp to the back. So it's got that lovely shape. And this is looking really cool. Like, just standing here, it looks like it's going to be the coolest van ever. But don't forget, we've got to high top this. So from here, this piece of roof's got to come up and roll over to about that height, so you can easily stand inside it. So it would be super cool just to put the roof on here and have this really long, excellent van. But we're not doing that. It's going to be the catering truck, so it's got to have this big high roof. And I think the real challenge is making that big high roof look as cool as the rest of the van. Okay then, so I pulled these bits of plastic, this UPVC stuff, all the way down there, made the same shape as the other side. Now here's the thing, I made the same shape as the other side. Chances are it might not be exactly the same, but no one can look at both sides of the vehicle at the same time. Never worry too much if you think, oh, this ain't quite right with that. No one will ever notice. Everyone will now look at all my old cars and notice. But anyway, I cut the rough off first with the panel saw, and then gluing 2 bits of 40 grit together. I've just gone over this and sanded it to shape. Now you will get like things like that where it like puckers up and there'll be an indentation. Don't worry about any of this. because when we put the aluminium tape over, it will cover all those holes, and it will bridge that hole sufficiently that the fiberglass will also bridge that hole. So, you know, we'll get a good cover of fiberglass all the way down. So don't be too... I used to like fill all these holes in after, but the tape bridges them and there's no real need. But yeah, so we'll do a little bit more sanding on this, cover it in silver tape, on with some fiberglass, and then this will be nice and strong, and then we can start looking at this top panel. Okay then, so putting these side panels on the meat wagon, like I've said before, there's not a lot of framework going into this. So I've just got this, which is like the top rail, which is following the line of this rain gutter. And then this bit which I've built up, I've made this curve. This is fiberglass now, so this is really strong. But I've got a bit of a lip there and that, and I'm going to bond the panelling. Now, the fact that there's such minimum framework to this, minimal should I say framework, now once this is done, it's going to have worktops in it, a lot of framework inside it, so I'm not that bothered that this isn't all that strong at the moment, because by the time it's finished it will be super strong. There's no point building a really heavy framework here when other things will inevitably support it. So let's get this bonded on. And there we go. Obviously I'll add some more screws along here and along here, just to make sure that PU adhesive gets squashed down nice and we get a really strong bond. And then what I'll do is I'll trim that off to the level and now start looking at making that curve on the back. Of course I've got to make that curve the same as the other side, so that's probably going to be a little bit problematical, but I'm sure we'll get there. I'm sure it's going to look great. Okay, so recently this week we lost someone whose work has been just unbelievable over the past few years. We lost our old Sawzall. It burnt out and it'll never work again. But I did buy a new Sawzall. Now I've got Makita 36 volt twin battery. Oh yeah, imagine the absolute destruction I can do with this. So here we go, let's trim this bit off. Side on, and it's looking really good. Another thing with building a really sort of rigid frame that you're going to attach everything to, you sometimes miss out on stuff that sheet material will just do. You look down the side of this, it's not dead flat. The bottom does follow this curve and it gives the whole panel a little bit of twist. There's a little bit of like compound shape to this. When you build a really sort of, you know, strict frame, you end up with like, you know, like a Luton van looks, it's just a box. Whereas doing it this way, I've got this point there, I've got this point there, and this material is just gonna bend between the two. It makes a vehicle look a lot more like a vehicle than, you know, like a well sculpted box. In a bit, what I'm going to show you is how to do this bit here. So on this side, we've got that nice dynamic curve, same as there, because of the juxtaposition between this straight edge at the top and this curve down in the lower line in the vehicle. And we've already bent this piece of diamond around. Doing that on the other side, but you know, already this has made this a lot stronger just because it's got this sort of curve to it. So let's get to it, let's get the other side done. What I've done, I've put a brace across here, and if we look inside of here, you know, it's a right old mess. It's just bits of wood and bracing and all of that, but like I say, it's not going to be strong until it's sort of all together. So I've braced across there, and what I'm going to try and do is get a piece of this die bond to follow this line down here and also wrap into there, just like we have on that side, and it look, I don't know, sort of symmetrical, really symmetrical, hopefully. So then, how to get this around that corner? What I'm thinking is, I'll just screw it on there and just sort of manhandle it, trim it and bend it into place. Hopefully this form here should give me my shape. So let's give that a go. I feel like, you know, like the first 5 minutes of the programme, Casualty. I feel like that. It's probably all going to go, it's just all going to end up in like the Burns unit or something. Anyway, let's have a go. Well, it's a lot of like arching and bending and twisting. I think it's going to be good. We're going to drop the top bit in because it's very difficult to see if this has got the same curve as the other side at the minute. So we've got this sloping line on the bottom and also we've got this. So we'll get rid of the sloping line, we'll put the top line in, then we'll massage it a little bit more, see what we can do. Curve, we're going to go around there. We have put a little bit of die bond behind that, so we've got a step to drop into. We pull it round to here, sort of have a fiddle with it, see how it looks, and then that's right. Okay then, so back in the meat wagon, looking good, looking quite symmetrical. There's a lot more stuff to go on here, so I'm not too bothered, it's good enough. And around this top edge, what I did, I formed an angle, and I fiberglassed it, and then I formed this over by sculpting. I sculpted first the shape using one of these pool noodles that like, I know you put under kids in swimming pools, but what you get with this is, you get like a long length of nicely sculptable foam. So I put that in there, sculpted it and then glassed over. Now the pool noodle doesn't really do anything once this is dry, but what it does do is it forms a shape for the fiberglass to sit over, and because I made an angle before and now I've made that, I've made fiberglass box section. So that is super strong, and see, it's a curve. The problem is it curves but it also curves in. So to make that in a wooden framework or anything would have been quite difficult. So we did it like that, and it is super strong. What we're going to do now is we're going to grind all these screw heads off so they're flush all around the body. This bit at the back isn't very flush at all, but this is going to have like a a moulding that covers this centre section, and we're going to do something really cool down here as well, something very, very Art Deco. But all these bits, which at the moment look pretty rough, there's gaps and everything, so we're going to grind off all these screw heads, grind this flat, and then we're going to put a single strip of fiberglass all the way up there, and that'll start to make this a lot stronger. We're also going to fiberglass along here and fiberglass up to this piece of timber, and this piece of timber is making the ring in the roof where the high top roof will fix to. Now, in my workshop, the roof isn't high enough to build this vehicle. So what I'm going to do, I could build it, it would fit, but I'd never be able to work right on the top. Once this ring's in, I'll push it outside. I'm going to make another ring that fits up to this ring, and that will be like the foundation, the base, to make the very curved sort of Art Deco roof for this. So what I'll do, go outside, make a ring, get some sort of, sort of sketch out what it's going to look like in timber, and then I'll bring it in here and we'll make it in dye bonded fiberglass, same as the body, and make a lovely sculpted roof. It's going to have like a skylight running down the middle and down the back of the van. It's going to be really nice. But then I will put that back on once the whole thing is finished. That will fit back on, and it's going to have, the meat wagon is going to have, for its serving hatch and for the door you get in, it's going to have gull wings in the roof that lift up on actuators. So this thing's it's going to pull up, drop down on its air suspension, and then gull wing doors come up. It's going to be awesome. That's it for this week, but join us next week. We're going to be looking at the front grille, the front bumper, and also that just amazing sweeping arc of a rear bumper that's going to be pivoted, and it's going to end up being chromed, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be all here on Custom Work. So until then, don't forget, press subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a message down below, and don't forget to click on that bell icon to get regular updates about this channel and Custom Works. Until next week, good night!